Wisconsin's most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. It's going to be, well, a little bit of a foggy morning out there, but hopefully the skies will clear off soon for a beautiful day. Here's Michael with a check on your forecast.
Tanya, it sounds like your morning trip may have been like mine, where I was like, if I can find the towers, I'll know where to turn into the station. But other than that, that was about the only landmarker I could see. That's why we do have the dense fog advisories for our counties in gray, even on the eastern edge of southwest Missouri. Visibility pretty limited. Now, we are going to be dry today and eventually get some sunshine. We've just got to burn this off. Saw those expiration times weren't actually until 10 a.m. 41 in Joplin, 36 in Parsons, about 39 in both Fort Scott and Nevada. As far as the Skywatch Storm Tracker goes, whole lot of action from the Great Lakes up into the northeast section of the United States, and then we'll look for thunderstorm activity right along the line where the Gulf moisture warms up the deep south and hits that cold front. For us here today, we'll get close to 70 degrees. It's going to be a great looking Friday. Clouds going to kind of move in for a little bit, but then by the time we get to the noon hour, we're looking at partly sunny skies and then clearing off overnight. So for the 7-day forecast, we see a little bit of rain try to clip up in the north there for Saturday, but it's not going to be widespread. More sporadic than anything else, and really coming in Saturday night into Sunday, so it really shouldn't affect any of your outdoor plans. As far as the 7-day forecast goes, warm on Friday and Saturday, a little bit chillier on Sunday, but still a good dose of sunshine, and then right back into the 60s and 70s for Monday and Tuesday. Tanya?
Michael? Well, some area pharmacies are trying to make sure their COVID-19 vaccine supply does not go to waste. As pharmacies get more doses of vaccines, more appointments become available. But when people don't show up for their appointments, those unused doses of the vaccine can go bad. Instead of letting them go to waste, pharmacists use a waiting list to find people to vaccinate.
You have 6 hours to use it in the case of Moderna, which is the one we've been administering here lately. And because of that, we don't want to waste any doses. And so, yes, at the end of the day, potentially we have a backup list that we can reach out to if we're struggling to use those.
People on the list are prioritized by vaccine eligibility, and when those eligible can't come in, the next available person on the list is called. The Neosho Memorial Regional Medical Center in Chanute, Kansas is hosting a walk-in COVID-19 vaccine clinic. It'll be Monday from 3 to 6 p.m. at the Central Park Pavilion in Chanute. It's for people who need their first dose of the vaccine. Second doses will be given on April 23rd. Missouri has been moving along with its vaccine distribution plan. The state even announced recently that every adult Missourian will be eligible for a vaccine April 9th. But some city leaders in the state's urban areas say their constituents have been left out. Yesterday, a mass vaccination clinic in St. Charles looked to remedy that issue. Around 1,000 people lined up at a community college campus to receive the 1-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
It wasn't what I expected because, we all had appointment time, so I was a little surprised to see 1,000 people when I got here, but it moved very quickly. It's a really well-oiled machine. Everybody's been terrific. I think I was in and out in just under an hour and a half.
St. Charles Health Department gave out more vaccines in this clinic than they ordinarily do in a year. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly has signed legislation rewriting Kansas laws for managing the coronavirus pandemic and future emergencies. That's even though she believes it could hinder disaster response efforts. The measure Kelly signed this week extends the state emergency for the pandemic until May 28th instead of letting it expire March 31st. Governor Kelly cited the extension in announcing her action. The measure also leaves counties in charge of mask mandates and other restrictions. Students in Fort Scott, Kansas will be getting some financial relief. Close to $2 million in federal pandemic relief will be used to cover general fees for Fort Scott Community College students. Those fees will be paid for automatically starting in the upcoming fall semester and going through summer of 2022. The discount will be applied automatically. Some specialized fees like tools for cosmetology class, for example, will not be covered. The great outdoors looks a little more brown right now since many plants could be very damaged. An extension agent at K-State says bushes and shrubs could experience winter kill, where the cold temperatures last month damaged them enough that they have to be replaced. But they recommend waiting a few more weeks because many plants and shrubs could come back in the warmer months.
We gravitate sometimes towards those species that are more southern type of plantings. They just can't tolerate the cold. And so select those hardy varieties.
Harding adds using mulch can also help protect plants from the cold temperatures. And if you end up needing to replace bushes or shrubs, K-State has a list of recommended species for our area. We put that list on our website at koamnewsnow.com. A suspect is shot and killed and an officer injured after a gunfight in Kansas City, Missouri. The Highway Patrol says city police were searching for an aggravated assault suspect Thursday evening. That's when they found the person inside a gas station and tried to make an arrest. The suspect allegedly shot a police officer in the leg, prompting the officer to return fire. That act proved fatal, and the suspect was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. The officer was alert and talking while receiving medical care. It's 5:07.
Dense fog advisories after sunrise at 7:12, but the fog expected to stick around until about 10 a.m. It's pea soup out there in some places, but then we'll clear off the skies, go with mostly sunny for the afternoon hours. South breeze will pick up. We'll have some 20-mile-per-hour gusts. Still going to be a delightful afternoon, though. 70s today. Chance for thunderstorm activity to kick in tomorrow late afternoon into the evening, but the most severe weather is going to stay around the east of the Ozarks.
Look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, medical workers appreciation.
I'm Fami Redwood with how one community is celebrating doctors who pulled our country through this pandemic.
Plus, the Labette women's basketball team is still undefeated and has its eyes on another postseason run. And spring has been here for almost a week now, so Lowe's is celebrating with a giveaway. The home improvement store chain is giving out free garden-to-go project kits to customers. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Program history. Colgan girls head basketball coach Abby Farabi earning statewide recognition. Sports in Kansas naming Farabi the 2A Girls Coach of the Year. Farabi led the Panthers to a 19-4 overall record and their first 2 wins ever in a state tournament. Colgan finishes the 2A state runner-up this season, while also tying for the top spot in the CNC with a 10-2 league record. Pittsburgh's Javon Grant named the 5A Boys Player of the Year. Get this, nearly 30 points a game, including 3 40-point games. Galena's Brett Sarwinski, 3A Player of the Year. Sarwinski posted 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game, leading Galena to a runner-up finish at the 3A state tournament. Former Labette County standout Magic Relaford having a breakout sophomore season for Neosho Community College. Relaford leads the team in scoring with 18 points a game, been especially good in March. Check this out for the month. The former Grizzly getting 20 a game with 3 30-point games, and he is seeing a lot more playing time. Get this, 39 or more minutes in 4 of the team's last 6 games, including playing all 40 minutes twice.
Just feels good to be able to put the ball back on the floor, after sitting out for a whole year, that really took a toll on me. So once I was able to play again, I had to make sure I came out and did what I was supposed to do. They believe in me, and so when they're all telling me, positive things, telling me what I should do, and I know I'm supposed to do it, it helps a lot. So they just tell me go out there and play hard.
Check out our full story with Relaford on our sports page at koamnewsnow.com. Labette women's basketball team has once again been one of the best in the country this year. They've dealt with a late start and a 2-week quarantine due to COVID-19. But the Cardinals still undefeated and their eyes on another postseason run in early April. Our own sports reporter, Danny Terzer, with the Cardinals story.
The Labette women have a perfect 12-0 record this season. They've faced adversity and beaten that too.
Our team has been through a lot since August. We just came out of quarantine, so it was really hard for us to bounce back. We're getting back to what we were in the beginning, and I think we can really contend for a championship if we keep it up.
The Cardinals started the season ranked number 1 in the nation.
Missing games due to COVID has dropped them down to 8.
Stop ball, stop ball, stop ball!
The number 8 ranking is definitely not a reflection of our team, especially with our record. I don't know if it was vindictive, I don't know what it was, but it definitely is going to make us work harder and push to definitely get that number 1 spot back.
I see the screen coming, I either go over or under. We just use it as motivation. You know, it's another tool for us to talk about it in the locker room, you know, and let the girls know that we're not getting the respect that you were getting in the beginning of the year, and you got to earn that back.
The Cardinals have multiple players averaging double digits.
Finish!
Their depth is one of their biggest threats.
We're a matchup problem for a lot of teams. We're not a 1-star show or even a 2-star show. It's a lot of us that can contribute.
We've got a lot of really good players, you know, 1 through 14 that we can really rely on, and you know, whoever we bring up off the bench, we know they're going to be just as good as some of the kids we have starting. All right, spread the floor and run. Here we go.
The Labette women are aiming to defend their conference title, but that's not the end goal.
We can't go 50, can't go 75, because that's not going to get us a win. We're going to have to go hard every day. If we just work hard and we go hard, we can definitely contend for a championship.
In Parsons, Danny Terzer, KOAM Sports.
Labette back on the road this Saturday. Going to be back on the floor this Saturday on the road against KCK. Finally, Joplin's TJ Britton earned his first pro MMA title last weekend. Britton defeated Sky Musicic with a third-round TKO on Saturday night, earning the Cage of Honor flyweight title. Got to do it in front of his hometown crowd in Joplin. We caught up with Britton to talk about earning the title and the big-time fan support from Saturday night.
That just gives you that extra little energy. But when you get in that cage and they're yelling, TJ, TJ, man, it just does something to you. The support that our community has for me is truly amazing. I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it. You know, it's just, I love my community, and I'm blessed that my community loves me back, and they stepped up and they showed in a big way.
Now, we've got an extended full interview with TJ on our sports page. Once again, that's KOAMNewsNow.com. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, President Biden's first press conference of his administration.
The White House and Republicans focusing in on immigration. I'm Elise Preston with a look at how lawmakers are addressing a migrant surge at the border.
And to check on our foggy 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Just moving past 5:17 on this Friday morning. Safety is going to be the key word when you get on the road because the dense fog advisory lasts all the way until 10 a.m. Visibility numbers at 0 in Girard, less than a mile in Parsons. Gets a little bit better here on the far eastern portion of southwest Missouri, but we're below a mile there in Anderson and Miami as well. So please be very, very careful out there and plan on giving yourself several extra minutes. 39 in Pittsburgh, 36 in Welch, 41 in both Lamar and in Carthage. From this national perspective, everything really staying up to the Great Lakes. We will see a little bit of this cloud cover out to the west make its way through this morning, but we'll be dry today up until tomorrow afternoon, and eventually those clouds out to the west, those will clear out and give us a little bit of sunshine. Cooler temps for this Friday morning, extending all the way into the deep south, and that's where we'll see a little band of thunderstorm activity begin to progress for Friday into Saturday. Wind is also going to pick up, come in from the south. Not going to be surprised if we don't gust in between 20 to 25 miles per hour. Not too bad right now, sitting really in between 5 and 10. And that's going to allow us to warm up, combo of the sun and the southerly breeze, put us up close to 70 degrees here. And then overnight, the skies are going to remain on the clear side with a little shift to the southwest. Not going to be anything drastic. Let's talk about weekend precipitation. Because today we're going to be fine. There's everything that lifts off, and really a nice start to Saturday. You might see just a couple raindrops there on the far northwest. Now, Saturday, as we get into the evening hours, we see it begin to roll up here from the southwest, kind of pushes its way through. And that, like I said, I don't think it's really going to affect your outdoor plans. We got a nice little line right there. That could bring us a little thunderstorm activity. It's not going to hold on too long. It's going to be gone by Sunday, but right over here by the Boot Heel and into northeast Arkansas, the farther that we go to the east of us, the more intensity we see on the severe thunderstorm risk map. Matter of fact, we throw portions of Arkansas and Tennessee up in that elevated area. Our Sunday is going to be a little bit chillier than what we've had on Friday and Saturday, coming off of days in the 70s. But then we're starting off next work week in just fine fashion, close to 70 on Monday. And then we've got a little afternoon thunderstorm activity that wants to kick in, but still 72 as well on Tuesday. Time now to turn our attention to the spring break sweepstakes. And it's this easy. This morning, we're going to do it here in a second. Well, in a little bit. Got a chance to win a big prize just for watching the KOAM Morning News. Today is the third and final day of our spring break sweepstakes. And as you're watching this morning, just be on the lookout for what we call the code word. And once the code word's been announced, go to KOAMnewsnow.com, KOAMnewsnow.com/code word. You enter it, and that's your chance to win a prize from our friends at Indigo Sky Casino. Now, you're going to want to make sure that you enter before the end of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, so you'll have until about 8 o'clock this morning. Lowe's is celebrating spring with a new giveaway, and spring and activities, that's the subject of our Something to Talk About on the KOAM News Now Facebook page. Lowe's is giving out free Garden to Go project kits to customers next month. They're gardening kits that include a variety of gardening products. You got saplings, you got seeds, and even recipes. Kits can be picked up curbside, but you do have to register them first, and that starts on April 1. Our question to you this morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our Insta poll: what activities are you looking forward to this spring? Let us know, and we'll catch up with some of your comments and update the poll on KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, next Tuesday is National Doctors Day, time set aside to appreciate our medical workers. And this year, there is more appreciation than anyone can remember. Femi Redwood reports from Queens, New York, where doctors look back at the darkest days of the pandemic.
We are heroes.
It was a moment for gratitude and relief. A dramatic change from a year ago when New York's Elmhurst Hospital was called the epicenter of the epicenter, ground zero in the fight against COVID-19.
We all saw death in a way that as doctors we never anticipated.
Suzanne Bentley is an emergency medicine physician.
The ER, the whole hospital was absolutely overrun with patients, just completely packed. Sirens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There were lines of ambulances with patients inside.
During the peak, first responders gathered outside to salute medical workers after the hospital reported the unthinkable loss of 13 COVID patients in one day.
You were trained to save lives, you were trained to help our community, but what we went through last year, I have absolutely no clue how you did it.
At the height of the surge, refrigerator trucks are parked outside the hospital to hold bodies. They're long gone as things return back to normal. But at many hospitals, some staffers are still in survival mode.
A new report from the Department of Health and Human Services found at the end of February, healthcare workers were still working long hours with a shortage of supplies. They described being physically and mentally exhausted, some of them experiencing PTSD.
No one that went through COVID is the same as they were a year ago. And anyone that says, I'm okay, I'm good, I put it behind me, is lying to themselves.
Doctors here say the best way to honor medical workers is to stay healthy by continuing to wear masks and get vaccinated. Femi Redwood, CBS News, Queens, New York.
New York City has seen more than 800,000 COVID infections and nearly 31,000 deaths. Pregnant women who drank as little as a half a cup of coffee a day are at a higher risk of delivering slightly smaller babies compared to those who refrain from caffeine. Smaller birth size can increase the risk of obesity, heart disease, and diabetes later in life. Researchers at the National Institutes of Health recommend women limit or give up caffeine drinks during pregnancy. Heightened brain activity leading to stress is linked to a rare and sometimes fatal condition known as broken heart syndrome. A study appearing in today's European Heart Journal suggests the condition, which could lead to heart attacks, is triggered by grief, anger, or fear, and even joyful events, and is far more common among women than men. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
The dense fog is here to stay. Advisory doesn't expire until 10 o'clock this morning. We've got visibility down to 0.0 in the central portion of the 4 states. Let's go ahead and Budget several extra minutes to get to your morning destination because it's going to be slow and steady that wins the race. Sunrise at 7:12. And after we can burn this off, we're going to have mostly sunny skies today with a pretty good south wind of 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting 20 to 25. Temperatures are going to be great all the way up into the 70s for today and for tomorrow. Now, we talk about tomorrow's rain. Really starting late afternoon, rolls in from the southwest, not widespread. Farther north you live, the drier you're going to be, and severe weather should stay off to the east of the Ozarks. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Area pharmacies are trying out new ways to make sure vaccines do not go to waste. Plus, students at Fort Scott Community College will receive some financial relief, how general fees will be covered for students, and an agent at K-State Research and Extension has tips for your plants that may have been damaged in the winter storms.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Still a little foggy out there this morning, so be safe, but don't worry, it'll clear off soon. Here's Michael to check on your forecast.
Thanks, Tanya. I was trying to see if we'd get a shot of a vehicle that passed by outside of Television City here because right as we started this half hour, we had one come through. You could barely see the headlights with it being so foggy outside. Sitting at 41 degrees, it's a little chilly outside, and of course with that fog comes the high humidity as well. The dense fog advisory lasting all the way until 10 a.m. We've had some visibility numbers down to 0.0 in the central portion of the 4 states. Like Tanya said, it's just all about safety first and giving yourself plenty of extra time this morning. 39 in Pittsburgh, let's roll with 39 in Monette and 36s in both Chanute and in Parsons. Pretty clear Midwest, thunderstorm activity down in the deep south. And then a good bit of rain up in the Great Lakes up into the northeastern section of the United States. For us, after we burn off this fog, it's actually going to be a delightful afternoon. Plenty of sunshine, highs up to 70 degrees, and don't have to worry about any rain for today. Really, majority of tomorrow morning into the afternoon, we don't have to worry about anything. But now Saturday, late afternoon, we see it begin to formulate down to our southwest. Sporadic at first, then we get a little bit more consistent there for the nighttime hours, but really the heaviest stuff is going to stay on the east of the Ozarks there, kind of run through central Arkansas up to the Boot Heel. 70s again on Saturday. Sunday will be a tad bit cooler, down to the low 60s, but then starting off next week in fine fashion with Monday close to 70 and Tuesday close to 70 as well, even with some thunderstorms.
Be keeping our eye on those. Thanks, Michael. Some area pharmacies are trying to make sure their COVID-19 vaccine supply does not go to waste. As pharmacies get more doses of vaccines, more appointments become available. But when people don't show up for their appointments, those unused doses of the vaccine can go bad. Instead of letting them go to waste, pharmacists use a waiting list to find people to vaccinate.
6 hours to use it in the case of Moderna, which is the one we've been administering here lately. And because of that, we don't want to waste any doses. And so, yes, at the end of the day, potentially we have a backup list that we can reach out to if we're struggling to use those.
People on the list are prioritized by vaccine eligibility, and when those eligible cannot come in, the next available person on the list is called. An area mother is putting out a call for help to find a kidney donor for her baby son. 2.5-year-old Waylon went through end-stage renal failure last July. He's came back home in October, but has to go through dialysis 12 to 14 hours a day and take several medications. And now the family's looking for a kidney donor for Waylon.
It was surprised. We thought that probably his kidneys were shut down temporarily and he'll recover. So it was very surprising.
From there we went, and started figuring out that he's going to need a kidney transplant. And, he's on all kinds of meds.
If you are over the age of 18 and would like to see if you're a match for Waylon, you can message his mother on Facebook. Her profile is named Danny L, and that's D-A-N-I-E-L-L-E. Again, that's Danny L. I wish him the best. Freeman Health System has created a caregiver support group. The group will meet monthly to hear from various guest speakers and gather resources, all to help people who are helping loved ones.
Throughout my years as a social worker in the healthcare field, I've witnessed the impact that a caregiving role can have on an individual. I've had several even report feelings of guilt, as if they feel like they can't do enough or wish they could do more. And I'm always having to remind them that not only are they balancing their own lives, but they're balancing the huge responsibility of a caregiver. And they're doing just the very best that they can.
You can find information for how to get involved with the group on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com, under the Morning Show page. Also, you can watch the extended interview with her. Students in Fort Scott, Kansas will be getting some financial relief. Close to $2 million in federal pandemic relief will be used to cover general fees for Fort Scott Community College students. Those fees will be paid for automatically starting in the upcoming fall semester and going through the summer of 2022. Officials hope it will help open up doors for new students to go to college.
We wanted to utilize something that was going to have the absolute highest impact and open up the most amount of doors for some of the students that may not have had that opportunity in the past because of the fees.
Some specialized fees, like tools for a cosmetology class, for example, will not be covered. The great outdoors looks a little more brown right now, since many plants could be very damaged. An extension agent at K-State says bushes and shrubs could experience winter kill, where the cold temperatures last month damaged them enough that they have to be replaced. But they recommend waiting a few more weeks because many plants and shrubs could come back in the warmer months.
We gravitate sometimes towards those species that are more southern type of plantings. They just can't tolerate the cold. And so select those hardy varieties.
Harding adds, using mulch can also help protect plants from cold temperatures. If you end up needing to replace bushes or shrubs, K-State has a list of recommended species for our area. We put that list on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Our own Jesse Irwin travels to Greenbush to show us some fun activities to do.
That's right, we are out here at Greenbush talking about big brothers and big sisters and also talking about some fun activities that you can do with the big or little in your life. We'll have that for you coming up.
Plus, President Biden is pushing back against criticism he received for changing former President Trump's policies. We'll have the latest, but first, it's 5:37.
Patience is going to be the key on this Friday morning. Patience and safety. I should say both of them, because the dense fog is really hampering travel, slowing everybody down. And the advisory lasts all the way until 10 a.m. After that, mostly sunny skies for the afternoon hours. South wind picking up 10 to 15 miles per hour. Not a bad looking 7-day forecast. The rain on Saturday will hold off into the late afternoon and evening hours, and we'll roll 70s again tomorrow. We'll be right back with World Watch next.
In World Watch, immigration was the big topic at President Biden's first press conference of his presidency. President Biden is pushing back against criticism he's received for changing former President Trump's policies. Republicans who will be visiting the border today say it will lead to more migrants coming to the U.S. CBS's Elise Preston explains.
Republicans headed to the U.S.-Mexico border today put the issues they're going to see squarely on President Biden's shoulders.
If the administration thinks that they have this under control, they're sadly mistaken.
GOP members believe yesterday's news conference by the president will make the migrant surge worse.
It's going to lead to a tsunami this summer.
At the first press conference of his presidency, Mr. Biden said the increase at the border was expected as migrants try to beat the summer heat.
It happens every single solitary year. There is a significant increase in the number of people coming to the border in the winter months.
President Biden also defended changing former President Trump's hardline immigration tactics.
Rolling back the policies of separating children from their mothers, I make no apology for that.
Dylan Corbett, the director of Hope Border Institute, says most adults are still being sent back to Mexico.
Title 42 remains in place, and that's a highly consequential policy because it's resulting in the majority of asylum seekers being returned back.
17,000 unaccompanied children are in U.S. custody. The president vowed to open new facilities to cut down on overcrowding.
I can't guarantee we're going to solve everything, but I can guarantee we can make everything better.
President Biden said his administration is taking steps to speed up how quickly children are connected with relatives in the U.S. Elise Preston, CBS News.
Democrats are also sending a delegation to Texas today to a resettlement facility for unaccompanied children. A 99-year-old World War II veteran nicknamed Iron Granny took to the simulated skies for a virtual flight in Russia. The flight is one for the history books, as Maria Koltakova has officially become the oldest Russian to have ever flown a real fighter jet simulator. For 1.5 hours, Iron Granny served as a flight navigator, assisting the pilot on the takeoff and landing in the virtual flight. This isn't the first time Koltakova broke a record in Russia. At the age of 93, she made headlines all over the world for becoming the oldest Russian to have made a parachute jump. You go, girl. One of the 3 Deathly Hallows props used in the final 2 movies of the Harry Potter film franchise is hitting the auction block in Germany. The Elder Wand will be up for grabs through Hampel Auction House beginning. It started yesterday, actually. Online bidders will have through today to try and snag a piece of that magic. The wand is expected to make huge price gains during the auction, as the prop was used by 3 central characters in the movies. Do you remember the other 2 besides Harry Potter? You have to remind me there. Well, London zookeepers are asking the public to help choose names for their 3 young alpacas. The 3 South American male alpacas were born on a British farm and moved to the London Zoo at the beginning of March. They created a list of 3 names for each alpaca, allowing participants to fill out an online survey and choose which names they like best for each animal. Oh, they're so cute. The winning names are expected to be announced right before the zoo's reopening on April 12th. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll asking what you're looking forward to doing this spring. Now that we're transitioning into some warmer temps and hopefully we can string together some dry days. Will Batiste says, KOM, normal everyday stuff, tending to our garden, cookouts on the weekends, taking dogs for a walk, canning, preparing for the coming third world country conversion, destruction of the United States via current tyrants and positions of authority. Will says, not much really. Sarah Tinknell Driesback says, fishing with my grandson and working in the vegetable garden. Very nice, Sarah. William Beeching, I know how important this is to you, William. Mowing that grass and making that cash money. And Melinda Gardner, with green grass coming on, less hay, feeding to our cows and new babies. Insta poll this morning, 74% of you say just want to enjoy some time outside with those outdoor activities. You can make your voice heard by going to komnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. In his first formal news conference, President Biden said he will not apologize for the administration's handling of what some are calling a crisis at the border. The president also blasted GOP efforts to tighten state election laws, calling them un-American. And President Biden now vows to administer 200 million coronavirus shots in his first 100 days, doubling his original vaccine goal. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly signs legislation rewriting Kansas laws for managing the coronavirus pandemic and future emergencies. That's even though she believes it could hinder disaster response efforts. The measure Governor Kelly signed this week extends the state of emergency for the pandemic until May 28th, instead of letting it expire March 31st. Governor Kelly cited the extension in announcing her action. The measure also leaves counties in charge of mask mandates and other restrictions. Some area pharmacies are trying to make sure their COVID-19 vaccine supply does not go to waste. As pharmacies get more doses of vaccines, more appointments become available. But when people don't show up for their appointments, those unused doses of the vaccine can go bad. Instead of letting them go to waste, pharmacists use a waiting list to find people to vaccinate, and people on the list are prioritized by vaccine eligibility. When those eligible cannot come in, the next available person on the list is called. Students in Fort Scott, Kansas will be getting some financial relief. Close to $2 million in federal pandemic relief will be used to cover general fees for Fort Scott Community College students. Those fees will be paid for automatically starting in the upcoming fall semester and going through summer of 2022. The discount will be applied automatically. Some specialized fees, like tools for a cosmetology class, for example, will not be covered. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Visibility, our main issue this morning. Dense fog advisory until 10 a.m. Going to be a while before we can burn it off. Sunrise officially at 7:12, but then we're headed in the right direction with mostly sunny skies and temps up around 70 degrees later on this afternoon. Able to roll additional 70s on Saturday. And our Saturday panel with some rain, that really doesn't want to kick in till the afternoon and evening hours, getting more severe and you get on the other side of the Ozarks. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Don't let it.
It's the opportunity to win a big prize just for watching the KOAM Morning News. This is our third and final day of our spring break sweepstakes. So as you're watching this morning, be on the lookout for what we call the code word. And once the code word has been announced, go to KOAMnewsnow.com/code word, enter it, and that is your chance to win a prize from our good friends at Indigo Sky Casino. Make sure you do enter it before the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 comes to an end, so that'll give you up until about 8 a.m. If that morning routine of yours includes Facebook, you can always go to Michael Hayslip, KOAM. This morning, of course, we're talking about the dense fog advisories, and also, too, as we progress through the show, that'll be the same place that you can find the forecast from the Skywatch weather app, downloadable for free on all your mobile devices. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page, asking what activities you're looking forward to this spring. We'll pick back up with Greg Horn. Greg, getting the pool ready and just getting out more. Dave Sork, looking forward to Easter. And then we've got club members chiming in left and right. We'll start with Rocky Cunningham. Getting my garden out, mowing the yard, just general outside spring cleaning. It'll be nice to get some form of normalcy back. Of course, we love you, Aunt Pat. Dave Pitt's also in the club. I'm going to do Dave's last. Rick Norton, club member. Love working in the yard, but right now just spending time with my granddaughter Madison for a couple of weeks. Congratulations, Rick. That's awesome. And Dave Pitt Sr. in the spring, a young man's fancy lightly turns to thoughts of love. Dave says, bleep all that. I'm old. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. On our Insta poll this morning, 79% of you say just want some time to get back outside and enjoy some fresh spring air. 79%. Now, over to Jesse, who made a trip to Greenbush.
Well, this morning we are out here at Greenbush where we are learning about not only some fun activities to do, but we're talking about Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is a wonderful organization. And this morning I'm joined by Emily Roth, who is the Camp and Enrichment Coordinator here at Greenbush. Emily, I know you are a big, and you're involved in the organization. Can you tell me about Haley, your little?
Absolutely. So Haley and I, we've been matched for about 3.5 years. We started out when she just graduated kindergarten. She's now in 4th grade, which is really exciting. But we like to do a lot of random things together. We like to make pancakes. We go to gymnastics every week. We like to go on hikes or walks or bike rides. So she is a ball of energy.
That's so much fun. I mean, when did you decide that being a big was something you were up to do?
So one of my really good friends was actually a big, and she kept talking about it and kept talking about it, and eventually I thought, you know what, that's something that I think I can do as well, and something that I would enjoy doing. So in around August, I talked to Cassidy and asked her, what do I need to do to become a big?
Yeah.
That's how it all started.
That's fantastic. And you know, a lot of people, when they hear about Big Brothers Big Sisters or organizations like it, they think, oh my gosh, it's such a time commitment. And I know that can fluctuate based on their schedule, your schedule, and ultimately it's just knowing that you're a presence in their lives, right?
Absolutely. There have been times in the last 3.5 years that I've met with Haley once a week, twice a week, sometimes every other week, and depending on work and life, at times it's once a month. But you really just have to figure out, like you said, what works out for you and what works out for your little and their family.
And when it comes to the activities you guys do, I mean, sure, you can go to a baseball game, you can do things that cost money, but sometimes even the simplest activities are really fun, and that's what we're doing here today, correct?
That's exactly what we're doing here today. So we've got this recycled bottle. I have a funnel and a beaker because we're in a science center, but you can use like a cup or a piece of paper that's rounded, make your own funnel at home. We've got some baking soda and some vinegar. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna see how big one of these balloons can expand.
Well, this is crazy. This is science, isn't it?
This is science.
And you've made me look like Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat in the process.
Why wouldn't you want to look like that,
No,
right?
I've wanted to for a long. Last time I was here, you gave me a white science coat, which was wonderful. But I feel like we've upgraded.
This is an upgrade, absolutely. And apparently, it has all these colors have come from all of our failed science experiments. So we've perfected it right here.
All right. Well, we are going to be doing these experiments and activities with Emily to just see what kind of things you can do with the big or little in your life. So Emily, don't go anywhere. We're going to keep doing these this morning, but we will be right back after this.
Going to be a great looking Friday. We just got to get rid of the fog first. The dense fog advisory lasting all the way until 10 a.m. That's a late one. Usually we can let these expire about 8 or 9. This one stretches all the way to 10. After that, we'll clear off some morning clouds, have mostly sunny skies, work up close to 70 degrees. Saturday, going to be a nice afternoon as well. Now, late afternoon, evening, we begin to pick up some rain activity from the southwest, more so for the southern and eastern portions of the 4 states, and then a little bit chillier there on Sunday as we only are in the low 60s.
Area pharmacies are trying out new ways to make sure vaccines do not go to waste. Plus, students at Fort Scott Community College will receive some financial relief, how general fees will be covered for students, and an agent at K-State Research and Extension has tips for your plants that may have been damaged in the winter storms.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. It's going to be a cloudy morning if we can get through this fog first, but the skies are expected to clear off later. Here's Michael with a check on your forecast.
Fog is our biggest problem right now, Tanya, almost like pea soup out there. Tanya and I were talking about our morning ride to work. Thank goodness we got some blinking lights on the towers because it was the only thing we could pick up to make sure we made the right turn. 40 degrees is where we stand outside of Television City, so it's a little bit chilly. But more importantly, let's talk about our fog because the advisory stretches all the way until 10 a.m. and visibility numbers, even for our far eastern counties of southwest Missouri, still not looking too good. Central portion of the 4 states had some numbers earlier. 0.0 didn't even register. Like trying to see your hand in front of your face. Here's the cloud cover that Tanya was talking about, starting to make its way in from the west, but all the rain will stay in central Kansas. We'll be dry for the rest of Friday. Temperatures really from mid to high 30s, throw a couple of 40s on there every now and then. Here in a little bit, we'll talk about the massive tornado outbreak that they had down in the south. Midwest is going to remain quiet. Whole bunch of activity up by the Great Lakes stretching into the northeastern sector of the United States. Our weather trend after the fog's done, a lot of sunshine up to around 70 degrees. And then Saturday is actually going to start in delightful fashion as well, as we'll be clear. Now, Saturday afternoon, that's kind of what we're eyeballing down here to the southwest, where we'll begin to see it roll through, still up into the 70s on Saturday. But then as we work through Saturday night, pretty good line right along I-44, but the most severe weather will stay from central Arkansas into the boot heel. Temperatures going to be a little bit chillier on Sunday as we bop back down to the low 60s, but then starting off next week in fine fashion, high 60s, thunderstorm activity, and 70s on Tuesday.
All right, a little bit to keep track of in the coming days. Thanks, Michael. Well, some area pharmacies are working to make sure no vaccine goes to waste. As pharmacies receive more doses of the COVID-19 vaccine, more appointments can be made. Sometimes people miss their appointment, so instead of letting the vaccine go to waste, pharmacies call people on their waiting list. KOM's Bronte Saratsky tells us more.
Stone's Corner Pharmacy is just 2 weeks into administering the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. After waiting for some time to finally get their hands on it, they're ready to hit the ground running.
It's been awful across the world, and to be able to do something about it, I think the vaccine is the best method to fast forward through it.
Chad Isaacs, pharmacist and owner of Stone's Corner, says once they get their shipments of the vaccine in, they start to schedule their appointments based on criteria from the state. But they also have waiting lists.
We have a waiting list that we have staged by appropriate criteria, And we make contact with those individuals, and we bring them in on scheduled slots.
Once a vial of the Moderna vaccine is opened, it has 6 hours to be used before going bad. So at the end of the day, they call people on the list to avoid waste. Pharmacies like Stone's Corner encourage people to get onto their website to fill out eligibility information and complete their list. Without these lists, not only could vaccines go to waste, but those in need could go unprotected.
I have an older daughter who has autoimmune disorders, and you can't go do anything, and we've really been scared that we'd bring it home all this time. So yeah, I think that there should be a list.
For Jane Jones, the process of giving out these extra vaccines helped her daughter get vaccinated earlier.
With her illnesses, we were just worried that if we brought it home, it was going to be a death sentence. So we were just really thankful to be able to get it quicker.
Jones says now she can worry a bit less.
And so being able to walk in when they had extra was a big relief.
Nobody wants to be wasteful with this vaccine, and these waiting lists help avoid that, while even allowing earlier protection for some. In Webb City, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Additionally, Isaacs will go live on the pharmacy's Facebook page to answer questions the public may have about the vaccine. An area mother is putting out a call for help to find a kidney donor for her baby son. 2.5-year-old Waylon went through end-stage renal failure last July. He came back home in October, but has to go through dialysis 12 to 14 hours a day and take several medications. Now the family is looking for a kidney donor for Waylon.
It was a surprise. We thought that probably his kidneys were shut down temporarily and he'll recover. So it was very surprising.
From there, we went, and started figuring out that he's going to need a kidney transplant. And, he's on all kinds of meds.
If you are 18 years old and would like to see if you are a match for Waylon, you can message his mother on Facebook. Her profile is named Danielle, and that's Danielle. Again, that's Danielle. Students in Fort Scott, Kansas will be getting some financial relief. Close to $2 million in federal pandemic relief will be used to cover general fees for Fort Scott Community College students. Those fees will be paid for automatically starting in the upcoming fall semester and going through summer of 2022. Officials hope it'll help open up doors for new students to go to college.
We wanted to utilize something that was going to have the absolute highest impact and open up the most amount of doors for some of the students that may not have had that opportunity in the past because of the fees.
Some specialized fees, like tools for a cosmetology class, for example, will not be covered. The great outdoors looks a little more brown right now, since many plants could be very damaged. An extension agent at K-State says bushes and shrubs could experience winter kill, where the cold temperatures last month damaged them enough that they have to be replaced. But they recommend waiting a few more weeks because many plants and shrubs could come back in the warmer months.
We gravitate sometimes towards those species that are more southern type of plantings. They just can't tolerate the cold. And so select those hardy varieties.
Harding adds using mulch can also help protect plants from the cold temperatures. If you end up needing to replace bushes or shrubs, K-State has a list of recommended species for our area. We've put that list on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. 6:07.
At least it's beginning to feel a little bit like spring. After the fog is gone, we'll have sunny skies and temperatures up around 70 degrees. But of course, spring also brings us shots of rain as we work into the weekend. Saturday is still going to be in the 70s, and really morning-wise going to be absolutely great. Then we get a little scattered early afternoon, and then we kind of kick in right along I-44 into Sunday morning. Sunday chillier than what we've had past couple of days, down to the low 60s.
All right. Well, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, our own Jesse Irwin continues talking about the Big Brother, Big Sister program.
And we're out here at Greenbush talking about Big Brothers and Big Sisters and some fun activities you can do at home. We'll have that for you coming up.
Cool shot there. Plus, lawmakers take on big tech on their role in misinformation during the Capitol riot. More in the hearing, and lawmakers' positions on holding social media platforms responsible. And new data shows COVID-19 cases, deaths, and hospitalizations are dropping for those ages 65 and older. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, the leaders of social media companies were in the hot seat on Capitol Hill on Thursday. CEOs testified before Congress about misinformation on their platforms and how that could have played a role leading up to the attacks on the Capitol. CBS News correspondent Skylar Henry is in Washington with the story.
The simple question, yes or no, were you aware of it?
The CEOs of Facebook, Twitter, and Google got a hostile reception from lawmakers when they testified virtually for the first time since the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Pennsylvania Democrat Mike Doyle questioned Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg about the spread of extremist groups on the platform.
How is it possible for you not to at least admit that Facebook played a central role or a leading role in facilitating the recruitment, planning, and execution of the attack on the Capitol?
I think that the responsibility here lies with the people who took the actions to break the law and do the insurrection, and secondarily, also the people who spread that content, including the president, but others as well.
Zuckerberg also testified about Facebook's efforts to deal with misinformation. Twitter's CEO addressed how the companies handled the statements of specific users.
Ultimately, we're running a business, and a business wants to grow the number of customers it serves. Enforcing policy is a business decision.
Zuckerberg recommended reforming Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. It gives social media companies immunity from liability for content on their platforms. Changes in legislation seem likely, with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle dissatisfied.
Big tech has failed to be good stewards of your platforms.
Experts like Dr. Ethan Porter, an assistant professor at George Washington University, say changes first need to come from the company's leaders.
Even if you're skeptical about changing the rules or regulations, surely I think you'd want the norms to change to resemble standards of decency and civility that are useful for democracy.
And lawmakers are urging a standard for rules and accountability to prevent what happened on January 6th from ever happening again. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
All of the CEOs rejected blame that their platforms are responsible for the spread of misinformation. Peep, this Easter collaboration, Pepsi fans? Yep, I said Peep. The limited edition soda combines Pepsi and the Peeps flavor in these colorful 7.5-ounce cans, but they're not for sale. 3,000 packages will be given away to Instagram and Twitter users who use the hashtag #HangingWithMyPeeps and post a photo of them enjoying spring with the original Peeps marshmallows. I can do that. That's it for Money Watch. We'll be right back.
Don't forget, you got the opportunity to win some big prizes just for watching the KOAM Morning News. This happens to be the third and final day of our spring break sweepstakes. So as you're watching, be on the lookout for what we call the code word. And once the code word's been announced, all you have to do is go to koamnewsnow.com/code word, enter it, and that is your chance to win a prize from our good friends at Indigo Sky Casino. Want to make sure that you enter before the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 ends. Not too bad. That means you got until about 8 a.m. Live look outside of Television City. I've been keeping, even though we can't see obviously anything, I've been keeping my eyes on this street light right here because the halo around it actually is getting a little bit better. Earlier, we couldn't even see the light. It was so dense with fog. 39 degrees outside the station, feeling like 35 right now. And we've been talking all morning about the dense fog advisories. The impressive part is that expiration time stretching all the way until 10 a.m. Had some numbers earlier and still got them. Zeros right there in Girard, 0.0. You don't see that too often, in less than a mile, certainly, for just about one community in every county that's indicated in the advisory. 39 in both Joplin and in Carthage, 36 in Independence, let's roll 37 in Miami. All the action for this morning up in the Great Lakes with thunderstorms stretching to the northeastern section, and the good line that had the outbreak yesterday now pushing down into the deep south. For us here, we're seeing a little bit of cloud cover begin to develop on the far western edge of our four states, but the rain will stay through central Kansas. As far as what we're looking at temperature-wise, we're actually going to get a good dose of this yellow to kind of come back on us and give us a nice looking into the week. Wind is going to pick up. That happens when we get the warmer temperatures, but not too bad right now, just rolling 5 to 10 miles per hour. Up into the 70s today, and for future track, we're going to be able to roll 70s tomorrow as well. Saturday afternoon, that's when we'll begin to concentrate down here in central Oklahoma as the rain will formulate. It's going to be scattered and very, very, very light at first. But then as we work from Saturday night, especially right here on that band, ours is going to be just on the north side of 44. This is where we'll see the severe weather through central Arkansas and into the boot heel. 70s for Friday and Saturday, and then a little bit chillier by the time we get into Sunday, where it will only be in the 60s. Now it's time to check back in with Jesse at Greenbush.
Well, this morning we're out here at Greenbush and we are hanging out with Emily Roth, who's the Camp and Enrichment Coordinator here at Greenbush. And Emily, we've been talking about Big Brothers and Big Sisters because it's an organization that you're involved with as a big, and you and Haley, your little, do all sorts of stuff, but it doesn't have to cost money to do these things. And you immediately point to an empty Dr. Pepper bottle, 2 of them, and then balloon. I mean, what do you have here and what are we doing?
So these are all things that you can find at home. Most homes will have some vinegar, some baking soda, and maybe a pop bottle. It doesn't have to be a 2 liter, it could be 1 liter, it could just be, you know, one of the small sizes.
Right.
So let's go ahead and get started. You can go ahead and pick whatever size balloon you want. I've got 3 different sizes here.
Okay.
And then we're gonna take this funnel. And again, you don't have to have a funnel at home. Go ahead and put the balloon over the funnel.
Okay.
If you just have like a piece of paper that you can roll up, you can use that as well. Then we're gonna take a tablespoon. We're gonna get a tablespoon of baking soda, pour it in that funnel.
Okay. It's like Simon Says.
It is.
Okay. And pour
yep,
it in
just
there?
pour it in there.
Okay.
And then let all of that baking soda fall into the bottom of your balloon.
I think it's in there.
All right, so we're gonna put that to the side really quickly. And then the next thing that we're going to do is you need about 1 cup of vinegar. And when you're with your little, you can always experiment. You can put more or less in there. I'm gonna put about 200 milliliters in there, which again, that's 240 milliliters is about 1 cup. And if you just have a 1 cup measuring cup, that will work.
Yeah.
We are gonna pour this into our 2 liter bottle. Sometimes this can get messy, but also that's part of the fun.
I'm very curious to see what's about to happen here because I have a feeling, but I don't want to make any assumptions. All right.
All right, so the next step, we're gonna take this balloon off. So I just pinch it right here and roll that edge off with my other finger. We're gonna put it on the top of our 2 liter.
Oh boy.
Awesome, and then we'll lift this up and watch the magic happen.
Oh. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
Will it explode?
I don't know.
That
you
is
tell
the
me.
question.
Does that often happen?
So I have yet to find the perfect combination to make this balloon explode.
Okay.
However,
That's good.
That's part of the excitement of doing these experiments with your little. You can always use more vinegar, more baking soda, and just experiment with what will work best to attempt to make this balloon explode.
This is beautiful. Really quickly, explain the science behind what's going on.
So vinegar is an acid, and baking soda, we put baking soda in a lot of the foods that we eat, like pancakes and muffins and cakes.
Right.
And the thing that makes them so fluffy is either baking soda or baking powder, because when it reacts with an acid like vinegar, it creates carbon dioxide bubbles that rise up into your balloon.
That is too cool. Emily, thank you for showing us this.
Absolutely.
And I understand we've got more to do here this morning, correct?
So much more.
All right, we're going to continue to be hanging out with Emily here at Greenbush. We're going to be talking about Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we'll have information about both Greenbush and Big Brothers Big Sisters on our website. I'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a new analysis of COVID-19 figures shows the number of cases, deaths, and hospitalizations are dropping fast for some of the most vulnerable Americans. Mandy Gaither breaks down the data.
When it comes to COVID-19, they're some of the most at-risk Americans. But a new CNN analysis of CDC data shows those 65 and older are now seeing the largest decline in COVID-19 case rates, hospitalizations, and death rates out of any other age group. The data comes as the U.S. passes a milestone this week.
70% of Americans aged 65 and over have now received at least one shot.
The latest CDC numbers show weekly hospitalizations among that demographic dropped 83% over 9 weeks between early January and mid-March, and death rates were about 96% lower.
We intend to keep up this progress until all Americans are vaccinated.
While the average number of new daily COVID-19 cases climbed slightly across the U.S., 2 new papers published in the New England Journal of Medicine are adding to a growing body of research showing COVID-19 vaccines are extremely effective in preventing infection in the community.
Every day, 2.5 to 3 million people get vaccinated. So every day we get closer and closer to that extraordinary degree of effectiveness which we're seeing at the community level. And at the end of the day, that is what it is that is going to end this pandemic in this country.
Now, the next phase of getting shots in the arms of more Americans, at least 5 states have expanded coronavirus vaccine eligibility to anyone 16 and older, and at least 20 more plan to do the same by the end of April. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And Kara. COVID-19 cases and deaths among nursing home residents are the lowest they've been since tracking began in May, likely contributing to this drop, now, according to data from the U.S. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. The U.S. government is no longer distributing one of Eli Lilly's antibody therapies for use on its own. It's called bamlanivimab. The Food and Drug Administration says the therapy alone might not work well against variants, but it seems to work better when combined with some other antibody therapies. Used together, the treatments seem to reduce the severity of COVID-19 in some patients. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Dennis fall with sunrise here at 7:12. Mostly sunny skies. South wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. 70s for today and
tomorrow. Don't have to worry about the rain rolling in until tomorrow afternoon. Chilly on Sunday, but still additional sunshine, and then 60s and 70s next week.
Area pharmacies are trying out new ways to make sure vaccines do not go to waste. Plus, students at Fort Scott Community College will receive some financial relief, how general fees will be covered for students. And an agent at K-State Research and Extension has tips for your plants that may have been damaged in the winter storms.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. It's going to be a cloudy morning, or should I say foggy morning, but the skies are expected to clear off for a beautiful start to our weekend. Here's Michael with a check on your forecast.
You are correct on both counts, Miss Tanya. Number one, let's tackle the fog first. The dense fog advisories for counties in gray. Pretty impressive timeline right there, all the way till 10 a.m. And here's the cloud cover that's beginning to move in from the west. Now, the nice thing is all the rain's going to stay through central Kansas. Clouds are going to come and go for a little bit, but eventually it's going to be a delightful end to our work week. 36 in Parsons, 39 in Carthage, and 37 in Fort Scott and Nevada. Morning activity hanging over the Great Lakes up to the northeast after what they had yesterday, the deep south, with a little chance for calm and cleanup time for them. Weather trend for us. After the clouds begin to push off to the north, plenty of sunshine and temperatures up into the 70s here later on this afternoon. Now, development's going to be Saturday. No worries overnight, still looking great right there. Saturday afternoon, we turn our attention down to central Oklahoma. It's really going to be along and just to the north of I-44 where we're going to have some rain roll in. But really the most severe stuff is going to stay right here through central Arkansas to the boot heels. Our rain won't be widespread. Farther north and west that you live, the drier that you will stay. And then we're able to stay in the 70s on Saturday as well. Now Sunday, a little bit of a chill. Only 61, but they're right back into the high 60s and 70s for next week.
Temperatures for the weekend, I'm looking forward to that. We'll leave it
Yeah,
at that.
no, it's going to be delightful.
All right, well, some area pharmacies are trying to make sure their COVID-19 vaccine supply does not go to waste. As pharmacies get more doses of vaccines, more appointments become available. But when people don't show up for their appointments, those unused doses of the vaccine can go bad. Instead of letting them go to waste, pharmacists use a waiting list to find people to vaccinate.
You have 6 hours to use it in the case of Moderna, which is the one we've been administering here lately. And because of that, we don't want to waste any doses. And so, yes, at the end of the day, potentially we have a backup list that we can reach out to if we're struggling to use those.
People on the list are prioritized by vaccine eligibility, and when those eligible can't come in, the next available person on the list is called. Freeman Health System creates a caregiver support group. The group will meet monthly to hear from various guest speakers and gather resources, all to help people who are helping loved ones.
Throughout my years as a social worker in the healthcare field, I've witnessed the impact that a caregiving role can have on an individual. I've had several even report feelings of guilt, as if they feel like they can't do enough or wish they could do more. And I'm always having to remind them that not only are they balancing their own lives, but they're balancing the huge responsibility of a caregiver. And they're doing just the very best that they can.
You can find information for how to get involved with the group on our website, koamnewsnow.com, under the morning show page, plus the entire interview that we did with Jennifer Berry. Students in Fort Scott, Kansas will be getting some financial relief. Close to $2 million in federal pandemic relief will be used to cover general fees for Fort Scott Community College students. Those fees will be paid for automatically starting in the upcoming fall semester and going through summer of 2022. Officials hope it will help open up doors for new students to go to college.
We wanted to utilize something that was going to have the absolute highest impact and open up the most amount of doors for some of the students that may not have had that opportunity in the past because of the fees.
Some specialized fees, like for tools for a cosmetology class, for example, will not be covered. The great outdoors looks a little more brown right now since many plants could be very damaged. An extension agent at K-State says bushes and shrubs could experience winter kill, where the cold temperatures last month damaged them enough that they have to be replaced. But they recommend waiting a few more weeks because many plants and shrubs could come back in the warmer months.
We gravitate sometimes towards those species that are more southern type of plantings. They just can't tolerate the cold. And so select those hardy varieties.
Harding adds, using mulch can also help protect plants from the cold temperatures. If you end up needing to replace bushes or shrubs, K-State has a list of recommended species for our area. We've put that list on our website at koamnewsnow.com. A suspect is shot and killed and an officer injured after a gunfight in Kansas City, Missouri. The Highway Patrol says city police were searching for an aggravated assault suspect Thursday evening. They found the person inside a gas station and tried to make an arrest. The suspect allegedly shot a police officer in the leg, prompting the officer to return fire. That act proved fatal, and the suspect was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. The officer, we're told, was alert and talking while receiving medical care. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News.
Millions across the Southeast are cleaning up after a line of deadly storms. I'm Elise Preston with a look at the aftermath.
Plus, for our Something to Talk About, we're asking, what activities are you looking forward to this spring? We let you weigh in, but first, 6:37.
After we dispatch of the dense fog and the cloud cover, we're going to have sunny skies and make our ways up to the 70-degree mark later on this afternoon. South wind, 15 to 20 mile per hour gusts overnight. Clear skies as well. Setting up for a really great start to the weekend, up to 70 on Saturday. Do have a little rain shot along and north of I-44 from late Saturday afternoon through the evening, but the most severe weather will stay east of the Ozarks. Be back with Nation Watch right after this.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, at least 5 people are dead in Alabama, and millions across several southern states are cleaning up after a line of storms slammed the South for the second time in just a matter of weeks. Elise Preston takes a look at the aftermath.
Georgians are waking up to downed trees, power lines, and widespread destruction after dozens of twisters tore through the Deep South. This is some of the damage just outside Atlanta, a similar scene in the state's northwest, where Connie Lane says a tree crashed through her home.
It did sound like a train coming. You could feel it through the whole house shaking.
Shards of wood and debris are now scattered where homes once stood in hard-hit Alabama.
We've had a tragic afternoon. We had a tornado come through Calhoun County.
Kayla Mayfield threw on a bike helmet as protection while a powerful storm packed with strong winds blew through her neighborhood. Today, her family is safe.
I'm so thankful. That's all I have. The four people that were with me are all I have living in this world.
But many are grieving. Multiple people are dead. The National Weather Service is working to determine how many tornadoes twisted through the southeast, flattening homes.
I was standing in this window, the bedroom window, and I looked out and it started getting dark. I said, well, I better get out of this room. And I came out and I saw all of this. I couldn't believe it. It went so fast.
Much of Alabama remains on edge, hoping potential flooding today won't cause even more damage. It's the second time in less than 2 weeks a line of storms has darkened skies across southern states. Storms also shook trees from their roots in Tennessee, Texas, and Kentucky. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
As the cleanup begins this morning, a state of emergency remains in effect for much of Alabama. In his first formal news conference, President Biden said he will not apologize for the administration's handling of what some are calling a crisis at the border. The president also blasted GOP efforts to tighten state election laws, calling them un-American. And President Biden now vows to administer 200 million coronavirus shots in his first 100 days, doubling his original vaccine goal. University of Southern California will pay a record-setting $852 million to settle dozens of sexual assault misconduct allegations. The lawsuits were against a former campus gynecologist. USC calls the settlement fair and reasonable. Attorneys for the more than 700 victims say the amount is, quote, the largest sexual abuse settlement against any university and the largest personal injury settlement against any university in history. The gynecologist, Dr. George Tyndall, is facing criminal charges in nearly 30 cases of sexual assault and sexual battery, which date back more than 20 years. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Hey, it's that time to announce the Spring Break Sweepstakes code word. Today's code word, winner. WINNER. All you have to do now is go to KOAMnewsnow.com/code word, type in winner, and that will be your chance to win a special prize from our good friends at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Now make sure you do it here before the end of the morning news. This is our third and final day. Once again, that code word winner, WINNER. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/code word. Our Something to Talk About on the KOAM News Now Facebook page this morning. Lowe's is celebrating spring with a new giveaway. You can register. They got a little garden kit they're going to give you. Our question, what are you looking most forward to this spring? John Trebian, lawn work, then firing up the grill and the smoker. Sitting outside with family and friends. Good morning, KOAM. Good morning, America. And good morning to you, John. Christina Tortolote, foraging for wild edibles, creating delicious meals, incorporating wild edibles, camping, going to primitive skills events, learning ways of my ancestors. And she's got a good one right here. Checking my stockpile to make sure we have enough to last 4 years minus 66 days. Maybe take the littles to a movie Saturday. I don't know. I love spring. Thank you for that, Christina. Guy Hansen with our political cartoon for Old Man Winter. Becky Mengarelli going outside without freezing and getting the lawnmower. I might bring back the little lawnmower forecast here. I was hoping everybody just enjoy a weekend off, I guess. Our morning Insta poll right now. I think the most important thing to everybody is just getting outside and getting some fresh air. 83% of you say outdoor activities is what you're looking forward to. Got plenty of time to vote? Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries next.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant Dean Epley, a member of the United States Army. He served in 2007 during Iraq. His hometown, Wichita, Kansas. We are proud to salute Dean Epley, our four-state hero.
Birthday list off with London Huffam, who celebrates her 7th birthday. London, I absolutely adore your bow, kiddo. She celebrates in Carl Junction.
All right, and up next we have Reese Holcomb. Peace, Reese. And 9 years old for Reese, turned 9 actually yesterday in Carl Junction.
That 9 number right there, that's where we also find Bane Nading. Sharp-dressed dude right there. Bane will have a marvelous day. He's in Fort Scott.
And Trevor Whitley is 9 years old as well. We got triple nines there. Trevor is in Thayer, Kansas.
Reagan Carlson, a happy 18th birthday. Reagan in St. Paul. And Reagan, I want you to know these happy birthday wishes come from Grandma.
All right. And let's see, we've got Nick Sandberg turning 22 years old this year. He couldn't be happier. Happy birthday to Nick in Columbus.
Sammy Storm, a 24th birthday. Sammy, a happy birthday in Oswego.
All right. Emily Huckstep celebrating birthday number 25 this year. Happy birthday, Emily.
And we've got number 26 in the form of Justin Galloway. Now, well, 20, I got 26. Either way, here's the important part. You see that one on Justin's lap right there? Well, how cool is it when you share a birthday with your son? Caden turning number 4. I bet you Justin focuses all that birthday energy on Caden anyway. Happy birthday to both of you.
All right. And Danielle Crockett celebrating birthday number 31. Birthday wishes coming from Mom and Grandpa in Lamar.
We've got a milestone 40 for Luke Trowbridge. Hey, Luke, a happy 40th birthday in Chanute. Sure he's looking forward to his Hogs taking to court tomorrow.
All right. And Bob Davis. Bob is celebrating birthday number 43 this year. Hope it was a great one yesterday and continue on into the weekend.
Tess Watson, hey, celebrating a birthday. Tess, I want you to have a marvelous, marvelous weekend. She's in Weir.
Juanita Alloway celebrating birthday number 65. All right, Michael, I'm going to let you do
Pretty
it.
picture.
I'm going to let you
That's great.
do your...
I love the sunflowers.
Yeah, this is for you, Michael. Juanita is outstanding. You know why?
She's in her field. Mm-hmm. Happy birthday, Miss Juanita. Thomas Cloak, excuse me. A marvelous picture right there. Happy birthday to Thomas. He is 71 in Chanute.
In Oswego, Patty O'Brien celebrating birthday number 80 this year. Looking great there, Patty.
This is always so cool when this happens. We got another one. Rick Atkinson. A happy birthday to Rick in Baxter Springs. And sharing that birthday, Hannah Atkinson Zom, who happens to be Rick's daughter.
Aww.
Happy birthday, Rick and Hannah, both of them in Baxter.
All right, the Clarks are celebrating 27 years of wedded bliss. What a lovely picture there of Jeff and Tessa Clark in Columbus.
One of our extended KOM family members, Heather York, right there. That happens to be the sister-in-law of the wonderful graphic artist we have, Will York, who puts these birthdays together for us each and every morning. Will, you are in charge of telling Heather a happy birthday from all of us. She's in Crestline.
All right, and let's see, one of our evening directors, Cody Santana. I'm not sure what's going on in that picture there, but Cody is celebrating a birthday.
I don't know how he got that to work.
Is he balancing? Is that like a straw wrapper he's balancing?
But he did. Rusty Brown, a happy 61st birthday. Mr. Brown is celebrating in Miami. And J.B. Smith, a happy birthday to you in Columbus. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. That's where you can send them into. Birthdays at KOAMTV.com. Or you can go to our website, KOAMNewsNow.com/birthdays. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Remember this morning, that final opportunity to win a big prize for watching the KOM Morning News, the third and final day of our spring break sweepstakes. And of course, we continue to roll it over on the Morning News on Fox 14. So join us over there. And once you've got the code word, you just go to komnewsnow.com/code word, enter it, and that will register you for a chance to win some very, very awesome prizes from our good friends at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Tanya?
Up until 8 a.m. to enter that code word. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. In his first formal news conference, President Biden said he will not apologize for the administration's handling of what some are calling a crisis at the border. The president also blasted GOP efforts to tighten state election laws, calling them un-American. And President Biden now vows to administer 200 million coronavirus shots in his first 100 days, doubling his original vaccine goal. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly signs legislation rewriting Kansas laws for managing the coronavirus pandemic and future emergencies. That's even though she believes it could hinder disaster response efforts. The measure Governor Kelly signed this week extends the state of emergency for the pandemic until May 28th instead of letting it expire March 31st. Governor Kelly cited the extension in announcing her action. The measure also leaves counties in charge of mask mandates and other restrictions. Some area pharmacies are trying to make sure their COVID-19 vaccine supply does not go to waste. As pharmacies get more doses of vaccines, more appointments become available. But when people don't show up for their appointments, those unused doses of the vaccine can go bad. Instead of letting them go to waste, pharmacists use a waiting list to find people to vaccinate. People on the list are prioritized by vaccine eligibility, and when those eligible cannot come in, the next available person on the list is called. Students in Fort Scott, Kansas will be getting some financial relief. Close to $2 million in federal pandemic relief will be used to cover general fees for Fort Scott Community College students. Those fees will be paid for automatically starting in the upcoming fall semester and going through summer of 2022. The discount will be applied automatically. Some specialized fees, like tools for a cosmetology class, for example, will not be covered. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Still got about 3 more hours of this dense fog advisory. Give yourself a lot of extra time because it is as thick as we've seen it in some extended time period right now. A little cloud cover moving in from the west. Not going to stick with us all day long, and eventually we'll get sunshine, burn off that fog, make it up close to 70 degrees later on this afternoon. Going to be perfect into the weekday, the work week. Just like I said, just got to get rid of the fog first. Now, as we dive into Saturday morning looking absolutely great. Up into the 70s once again. Now Saturday afternoon, isolated at first and right there along I-44. So it's not going to be widespread rain, but could be a little worse from what they're looking at in central Arkansas to the boot heel of Missouri. So we kind of get out on the spring shower side compared to what they're looking at.
Coming up today at noon, we're making a homemade beet borscht in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM. Got the CBS Morning News coming up next, so you can switch on over with us on Fox 14. Tanya, we gotta roll the code word with our final day of doing that. Yeah. And we've got Jesse out at Greenbush, not only talking about some experiments they put together, but also big brothers, big sisters.
A lot on deck for you coming up on Fox 14.
All right, that wraps it up for this edition of the KOAM Morning News. Have a great, safe Friday. Remember, low beam headlights and lots of room between you and other drivers. And have a marvelous, marvelous weekend. We'll do this all again on Monday morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.
Today's